Hey everybody, my Ctenopoma Acutirostre is out. Came in to get the lights turned off. And he's probably in here waiting for some kind of dinner. I fed everybody a little earlier tonight. And I put his food in there, but he didn't come out to get it, so I don't know if he eventually came out or not, but I have a feeling he's wondering where dinner is now. And as of lately, he spends a lot of his time hiding. So I'm just going to try to get a couple of minutes here of him out and about swimming around the tank. He's really an awesome fish. I really like this fish a lot. I've had him for years. Used to be a lot more outgoing. I had a big Ctenopoma catfish in the tank. And it came out and sort of palled around with the Ctenopoma quite a bit. And the Ctenopoma died not terribly long ago, but when it did, the behavior on this Ctenopoma here has changed, not drastically, but noticeably. It's definitely not as outgoing as it used to be. And it's interesting because I do have plenty of other fish in the tank that would act as dither fish. You can see all these rainbow fish. They would certainly act as dither fish to make this fish feel more secure. If you're not familiar with what dither fish are usually smaller schooling fish that let a singular fish know that it's okay to be out and about. The idea being that if these small fish are out swimming around and there's no predators out gobbling them up, then it must be safe for me to come out too. And so that's what a dither fish is. And a lot of times if you've got fish that are reclusive and spend a lot of their time hiding, you can add some dither fish to the tank and that will bring them out a little more. So it was suggested by a few people that maybe the catfish was sort of doing the duty as a dither fish. And I don't know, I've never really bought into that idea. It doesn't make sense. That's not really the way a dither fish works. It's usually a group of smaller fish that would normally be prey type fish. If they're able to be out and about safely, then it must mean that, the coast is clear. And so the idea that a big catfish out swimming around, another large fish in the tank, is not the way, a dither fish would work. And on top of that, I've got the snakeskin gourami in this tank, which is fairly large. And I added that angelfish that we saw lurking in the back a few minutes ago. There he is, hiding over there. And that's a fairly significant sized fish too. So if we needed some larger fish in the tank, we've got the larger fish. And it didn't really seem to make a difference either way. This fish just seems to be a little more reclusive now that catfish is not in the tank anymore. Really interesting change in behavior. I don't like to anthropomorphize animals. I don't like to put too many human traits and human qualities on them, such as companionship and friendship and playfulness and things like that. I don't really think it works that way with fish, but I don't know. I don't know how it works with fish. I couldn't imagine what it's like being inside of a fish's brain. So who knows? Maybe they were companions of a sort. I always used to call them my odd couple because they always really did sort of pal around the tank together. And then when the catfish died, and I have no idea why the catfish died, it wasn't real old, maybe 7, which is not that old for a catfish. And it just started suddenly not swimming right, and it developed some sort of, I don't know, didn't really get bloated. It didn't really seem like it was a swim bladder issue. The best I could come up with was that maybe it picked up some gravel or something off the bottom of the tank while it was feeding one day and wound up giving itself some sort of blockage, intestinal blockage. That was what somebody suggested to me, and that makes the most sense based on what I saw and given all of the circumstances. I don't know what else would have done that fish in the way it died the way it did. So anyway, the catfish died, and this Ctenopoma has never really been the same ever since. So this one's getting pretty old too. I think their lifespan is anywhere from like 6 to 7 years old, and this one's at least 7 now. I've had this one since very early on. This was one of the fish I got early in my fish keeping days. Definitely not one of my first fish, but within the first year or two of me getting serious about keeping fish, I'd set up my African tank, and it had this fish. It had the Ctenopoma that I was just mentioning, the one that died. I bought them basically at the same time. So maybe that's got something to do with it. Maybe they grew up together, because when I got them, they were both tiny little fish. This one was... Put it this way, it's wider now. It's thicker in the middle now than it was long when I bought this fish. When I got this fish, it could have hidden behind a postage stamp. And now it looks like that. So I'll try to put my hand over there for scale. And he's right up against the front glass, so this is fairly accurate. You know, now he's kind of in the middle of the tank. So he's that thick and about 7, maybe 8 inches long, depending on where you measure to the tail. Definitely got bigger than I was anticipating. I was expecting it to spend its whole life in a 40 breeder, and I had to move it out of the 40 breeder years ago. And this is a 125, and this is probably bigger than you would need. But I would recommend, if you are considering getting one of these, I would say a 55 would be probably the smallest size tank you would want to go with in a long term. You know, if you want to start them out in something smaller, that's fine. But be prepared at some point, you're going to need, you know, probably a 55-gallon tank for them. Don't usually see the angelfish being aggressive towards the rainbows. When I first put that angelfish in the tank, the rainbows were terrified. They all huddled together at the other end of the tank, like I just put a shark in there. And who knows, maybe because the angelfish is acting that way, maybe that's why. Anyway, those rainbows getting chased like that little bit by that angelfish is not going to bother them in the slightest, so there's no threat or no danger there. All right, everybody, I'm going to call that good. It's Sunday night, so we can wrap it up and just call this a good night video. Again, nothing particularly on my mind. I just saw my Ctenopoma out, and I got most of the lights turned off in the room already, which allows me to have a relatively glare-free video. And I either have to prepare for a glare-free video, or, as I did tonight, just simply take the opportunity when I can grab one, just go ahead and shoot some video with no glare on the tank. So there you go. Alright, everybody, thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. And don't forget, this is my 125-gallon tank. So thanks again. I'll see you real soon in the next one.